Hi, I'm Paulie.
I'm GP, and
And
this is the Happy Class. Are we doing this show, or is our AI doing this show?
I mean, look at the size of the crowd, you know.
Yes. The well, it is. I know we're not doing a show on AI,
Yes, not
but
yet.
happiness, fortunately or unfortunately, gets affected by pretty much everything,
Yeah.
and AI is going to affect pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think it already is, you know.
Well, it is. Yeah, there. I was on a holiday recently with friends of my wife, a couple, and the spouse, who's a you know perfectly wonderful, normal person,
Hmm.
hadn't actually ever tried to use Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Okay, which I mean, that's I'm getting to the point where there's probably lots of people who may have used it once on the site if they could find it. So she had to ask me, well, how do you use it? Okay.
Yeah.
And that was at the start of a kind of a 2 week time where we spent quite a bit of the time with them.
Right.
By the end, she sent my wife a note saying that traffic had backed up on their way back to their house.
Yeah.
And she had asked Chat GPT where the accident was, and it responded and told her. And I'd never, I found it odd that Chat GPT could do
In
that.
in
So,
real time?
well, I don't know that's what she told me. She may have just exaggerated because she had been using it and over and just amazed, like we'd say we were out in Maine for part of the trip. And so I asked it, you know, give me two good lobster restaurants near Booth Bay Harbor. I can't say harbor, harbor. ChatGPT could translate either one anyway. And it gave three paragraphs on two different places, right? And I read it out loud because we were in the car, and this woman, you could see her mouth just go, like, that was pretty helpful. And I
Yeah.
said, yep, yep.
It's it's
And we
amazing.
ate it. By the way, we ate at one of them, just so you
And,
know.
and and was it good? Because here's the
Yes,
interesting.
yes.
So do you think um what I'm seeing, I'm using ChatGPT and generally AI, but mostly ChatGPT. And it's replacing a lot of my other apps. So Yelp, prime example, right? Where
Yeah.
normally you would go onto Yelp and you'd start to scroll through and maybe look at some comments and look at some reviews. Instead, you just asked ChatGPT. It gave you the two or three recommendations, and that was it necessarily. Like you didn't
I didn't need any more.
explore anymore. That was
I
it.
asked, by the way, I asked for two.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
specifically, I didn't want a long list,
you've narrowed it down.
I
And
just wanted it to narrow down to two.
it's just this implicit trust now
It's
where
the
you're
dinner
like,
for, pardon?
it's implicit trust with ChatGPT that you're not putting
I
your
mean,
life
it'll
in it,
get,
but
you
it's like
know,
a good meal.
so the way I kind of view it is maybe incorrect. Well, certainly technically incorrect, but in a kind of funny way, I just treat it as a very adept friend,
Yeah, that's a great.
human,
Yeah,
kind of adept friend who I ask a question and they don't really know the answer, but they are so fast at looking it up on the internet and reading everything and then analyzing it like a human and then giving me the two answers based on what I've read. Because,
yeah,
obviously ChatGPT has not had lobster, okay, in Booth Bay Harbor. Right. So as long as you're asking it that kind of question, it probably is working pretty well.
yeah.
Um, I know in the news you get a lot of the things that it can do that are fake. Okay,
Of
like
course,
the
yeah,
fake crowd or the fake, you know,
yeah,
the stuff that's all over the place, and that is troublesome because
absolutely.
AI cannot tell a AI created photo from a real photo.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Hmm.
It's smart enough to outsmart itself.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want a quote out of this show, AI is smart enough to outsmart itself because it can create a photo that it can't figure out was fake. That when you think about it, you go, I mean, you can't fool yourself.
Because you are,
You,
yeah.
you know, because you created it. I can fool you.
Hmm.
Okay. So I can take one AI program and fool the other AI program. Maybe if I went back to the original AI program that made the photo, it would go, oh, yeah, that's one of ours. And it's
Yeah.
not real. Right. But
Hmm.
because nobody knows which of 18 billion places you can create stuff in, anybody create, you can't figure it
Oh,
out. And
yeah.
that, by the way, is going to be a serious issue. How it affects happiness. I, 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 I guess I would have to answer. It's going to be that part of it is going to be pretty negative because uh, uncertainty creates um, anxiety,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
anxiety is one of the opposites of being happy. If you're
Yeah.
anxious, it's hard to be happy and anxious at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
It's not
Absolutely.
impossible, but it's hard. And if you don't know, if you're looking at something and go, I don't know if this is real or not, you're already like tensed up, and now you got to make a decision
Yeah.
based on is this really, and it, it'll be I know that the people talking about it are trying to figure out ways to not have that be a problem, but it's the way it's heading right now. It's definitely a problem, and it can get so. I so in defining it, remember when Wikipedia first came out and got
Yeah.
popular? Not when it first came out, but when it got popular,
Yeah.
people kept saying you can't trust it because anybody can write anything at any time. Da 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 da. And
Hmm.
then over time, Wikipedia changed its software to allow other software to find bad actors, people who are lying. They
Hmm.
changed
Yeah.
it so if you want to like write on Joe Biden's Wikipedia, good luck. You're not going to be able to write on it. They're not going to
Hmm.
let you write on it. So they stopped. Anybody can write anything
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah.
There's all this. So they did that. And then the other thing that happened is in a lot of cases nobody bothers. So for an example, using I could go on I could say, look, I'd like to order, some tacos from my favorite taco place,
Yeah.
go pick up or whatever. And the menu could be altered by somebody. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of the picture I get is not the right picture. And I would try to order something that doesn't exist or whatever. Who would ever bother making the fake taco, And
Yeah.
that's what happens in Wikipedia. 99% of the, do you want to change how many square miles Lake Michigan covers and make it fake? No. Not that you can't, although they've
Mhm.
got these things in that double check things and people do, so that I mean you can there's all kinds of errors,
Yeah.
conscious and some are conscious things that people have done to Wikipedia, but for the most part, you learn that in Wikipedia you don't uh you don't go to Wikipedia and ask it, so should I take 3 of these pills or 2 of these pills? Because no, okay,
Yeah.
that's not a good there and not a good source of
Oh, your
information
sources.
on
Yeah.
that kind of risk my life type thing.
Yeah.
How
Mm.
many square miles does Lake Michigan cover? It's a
Yeah.
pretty good source for that. And I think AI, the fake photos and whatnot, will only become a problem on these hyper important things. And on those, um, there's going to be some way that somebody figures out, and I have an idea of one possible way, but that fixes that. So my way of fixing it,
Right.
I don't believe anything that doesn't come from a resource that I believe in. Okay. So
Run.
I have my New York Times app. I
Yeah.
have my ESPN app. Do
Hmm.
I trust ESPN to get the score right? Yeah. I mean, they're trying. They're not, and they're not. So I when I'm looking, for stuff, and when some random photo, like watching the dolphins flip in the waves on some cliff line, I look at that and go, maybe it's real, maybe it's not, you know. And I'm not going to send it on to anybody like, oh my God, look at these dolphins jumping in these giant waves. I don't know it's real.
Yeah, so you've touched on a whole bunch of things there, I think, just in terms of the process and from an AI perspective, and you mentioned AI being able to fool itself, which absolutely then we need to somehow put in some checks and balances to be able to counteract that. But for the most part, a lot of what will be generated and what is generated by AI is consumed by us, right? And we've already seen, even long before AI, that critical thinking is a really important skill, and it's an important stopgap of. It used to be don't believe everything you read in the papers, right? And so now you say, okay, here's the photo of the dolphins doing their thing, and you go, okay, is it real? Is it not? And I'm not going to forward it on to anybody. But not everybody, particularly on social media,
Oh, they'll all. I got it from somebody who forwarded it on. Okay, I mean,
right? So you've got like so much stuff comes across somebody's app or desktop, laptop, whatever device, and they go, oh, and they just blindly forward it on. And I remember from an AI perspective, going back to even just the photos, um, as I was trying to ramp up and learn more on an AI perspective, I think I've mentioned this to you before. I started playing with Midjourney for image creation, and I'm just in there just messing around, trying to learn how to make it work, trying to do the prompts, give me a photo of a cat riding on top of a dog, that kind of thing. But it's using Discord. So you're in kind of a chat room, going back to old school. So you see all the other prompts that people are
yeah,
putting in there. Um, and somebody put in a really long prompt. This prompt had, I actually learned a lot from it and I saved it off just to reference it. This had everything from uh,
sunset, camera angle.
camera settings like f-stop, depth of field, the whole thing. But it said special forces troops amassed along the border of the US and Mexico with chain link fence behind, gritty, no patches on suits. Like it went into serious level of detail. And Midjourney said, okay, here you go. So I'm sitting there and I'm seeing all the cat photos and the this, and that come up. And this came up. And I went, oh, wow. Like it stopped me in my tracks because I looked at it and I said, if this goes into whatever publication that could be it New York Times or Epoch Times or whatever kind of publication that's out there, which could be right, left, whatever it is
Well,
in terms
yeah,
of meaning, you look at that and it says, you know, president has sent troops to the border, and suddenly that's real. And then that spins out into the media ecosystem, and that becomes a whole thing from this one photo. It's very much like Wag the Dog, right? That Dustin Hoffman movie.
yeah.
And you just that was it for me. And so I think definitely on the AI side, we need to be able to get AI to be able to understand itself, whether it's
I
attribution and stuff
I
like that.
I
But people need to.
I think it's unlikely, and it's unlikely because um,
What's unlikely?
that AI is going to watermark its stuff, identify it.
Oh,
It's not going to do it because there's all kinds of countries for whom putting that photo up to mess with another country's civilians
yeah,
is a thing they want to do, and they're
right.
not going to do it, and so it's not going to happen. Okay, so to your uh, point of, you know, where you're going to get your news from, you know, I mean,
Mm,
I get my news, you know, like I said, ESPN for my sports. I mean, I
yeah,
have some other places that are equally as reputable,
yeah.
and I know people will probably tease me, you know, but I get my news from New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, Fox. Okay. And from a plethora of places that may distort the news.
Yeah.
Okay. And certainly Fox's $1 billion payment says they will distort news. Okay. I mean, not that the others don't deserve, well, they all get
Absolutely.
sued
Yeah.
occasionally. Okay. But they're not trying to use the photo that you discovered of the troops amassed at the Mexican border. Okay.
Yeah.
And anything else that comes across, I take with the, if people know what the Onion is, I take with it probably came from the Onion. I mean, I don't know. I mean, really, I mean, I think of these crazy things all the time. Things to say.
Yeah.
I do.
It's
Stuff that would be helpful in any kind of argument.
yeah.
Just make up. I mean, you know, we could pick on people, but it's not a purpose of our show.
No, but so back
So how's that going to affect people's happiness?
exactly. So I was just back to the happiness thing with the AI. I mean, a perfect example is you asked the AI to give you two good restaurants nearby. It gave you two restaurants. You ate at one of them, assuming you
Sure.
enjoyed the meal. Direct line to happiness right there. I mean, certainly for me, from a work perspective,
Ah,
AI AI makes my life easier, makes me more productive. Um,
well, it
even
takes away some of that drudgery that you don't like doing. I mean, some people love to research and dig in. And by the way, every once in a while, going down a rat hole can be fun. And
yeah,
certainly the people at TikTok understand that. They have an algorithm that is got this giant rat hole to drag you in, and they got a suction cup in there that just drags you in. You want to see one more pug race around and chase its tail? It's not going to get it, but I'll show it to you.
I
So
yeah.
but that kind of drudgery, I mean, it really, and some interesting stuff. I mean, right now you can take a picture of your refrigerator and ask it to give you, 5 recipes.
Yeah.
And, soon it'll be smart enough to know that you really don't like Cajun food. So it won't suggest the Cajun food to you anymore.
Or it'll just be like, hey, last time you had Cajun, it gave you really bad gas. Are you sure you want to do this
Yeah,
again?
yeah. That's the next phase after the fact that they know you don't like it. But it's going to, and I think uh, you're getting hints of it. I think the best hint was from what's his name, Cook at Apple,
Hmm.
when he said, we're going to have Apple AI, which I think is a brilliant name because they're trying to steal the whole AI thing. These guys are good.
Yeah.
And because if it's sitting on, your device, rightly or wrongly, people think this is fairly secure.
Yeah.
It's in
Mhm.
I got it in my pocket. Where can it go? Well, it can
Yeah.
go anywhere, but that's it. And therefore, you're going to let it have more and more information. It gets at everything anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so it,
so
it's
quick.
going to be helpful to your point of, are we happier because there's an internet? Hmm. Oh, okay.
I I
Ah.
said to I said to my wife recently, um, this was partly related, I think, a little bit to my frustrations with Microsoft, but it spilled over into other things. So I
So there's
said,
many reasons that you're sleep divorced. It's not all snoring.
yeah, yes, exactly, exactly.
Okay. Just
So
making it clear.
I said, sometimes I feel like if I could just pull the plug on the internet, and I say that because you and I came up when the internet was dawning, right? When you would
Yeah.
send an email and you would get an email back, and you're like, "Look at that! Wow, that's and all of that." So we have that kind of level of appreciation for things. But yeah. So two quick things really on the Apple front. One is Apple AI, like Siri is AI and ChatGPT is the thing that Siri should have been.
Oh
Because,
yeah.
like,
By the way, same thing with Alexa.
yes, yes,
Yeah. I mean, the two of them,
yeah,
those are the unfortunate twins that
it just didn't happen,
It
and
didn't turn out the way they could have.
it could. I look at how like Siri now for me, and as I explained at the top of the call, like I've or at the top of the podcast, I've been invested in Apple for a long time in terms of technology. And Siri for me, when it came out, I was like, this is great. This is going to be fantastic. And now it's Siri is, and I have to be careful because she's listening, so don't want to
Yeah.
hurt her feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
When you
is
have a blank
it's
screen tomorrow
resigned
morning,
to,
you'll know
yeah,
why.
it's Siri's resigned to what's the weather going to be like today because I'm away from my phone or whatever. The other day, my watch had died. I think my because I'm Apple
Yeah.
fan, I have my Apple Watch, and I said, hey, how many steps have I taken today? And Siri said, I'm sorry, I can't tell you that information. And I was like, wow, like you're like kind of, the core assistant of this. The data is on the phone, which is connected to the watch that's tracking me, and you can't give me that info.
Yes.
And then with ChatGPT, I've set up the voice interaction,
Yeah.
and you choose from the voices, and the voice I've chosen is Juniper. And so I'll turn it on. I'm just like, hey, Juniper, blah, 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 blah. And Juniper will be like, here's two restaurants that you should eat at, or whatever.
Yep.
So and it's just it's the promise of what Siri should have been. So I'll be interested to see what Apple does on the AI front. But separately, as you talked about, is your device the secure, rightly or wrongly, however people think. So this is a fun one, and it's not a unique experience to me. Um, I played soccer on Sunday, and the other team got a free kick right outside of the 18-yard box. And so we put up a wall, right? You stand there, block that side of the goal, so the keeper just has to deal with this side.
Right.
The guy comes up and he drills it. We're 10 yards away from the ball because the referee has walked us back 10 yards, drills it, and I take the ball directly to the face. No other body part. Like you cover the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
took it to the face, and it rang my bell. Rang my bell. I went down and I was like, wow, okay. I'm like, I might need to sit out for a little bit because my head is ringing right now. So I'm texting with a friend of mine who plays. He wasn't at the game, and we're on WhatsApp, and he said, hey, I heard you took one to the face. Are you good? And I was like, oh, just a mild concussion, no problem, blah, 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 just joking.
Yeah.
He rang my bell. The next day, so this was in text on WhatsApp. The next day, I'm on Instagram and I get an ad for medical study for men over the age of 35 that have played soccer and sustained a concussion.
There are random events.
Right. Totally right.
On the other hand, you know, the it's kind of what's interesting to me is that a good thing or a bad thing? Now, I would say it could be a good thing if you had just approved that you're okay with that.
Uh,
So, in other words, so I had a company 25 years ago, and we were at the very forefront of getting data
yeah, okay.
from users.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
And our form of getting data was we paid people for it. And there was a little piece of software on your device. And if the green light was on, we were listening.
Yep.
Okay. And you were getting paid.
Yep.
And all you had to do is hit it to turn it red.
Yep.
And it stayed red until you hit it to turn it green. So,
Okay. Yeah.
and that permission, set us up to be different than where most of the data is gotten.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
they quote steal it as
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
playing a game or whatever you're doing.
Hmm.
And so, but my point was when I would talk to the investment bankers, we were filed to go public, and
Hmm.
I said in my dream world, this was 1999. in my dream world, okay, this is connected to a robot in my house,
Yeah.
and it knows that my diet soda is getting low, and it goes into the refrigerator and brings me one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because I want it to.
Yeah.
And so I, because
Hmm.
I'm in control of the permission,
Yeah.
you know, if I'm in control of the permission, then I feel better. And it's not always going to be to my benefit that I've let the data go. But,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I mean, for heaven's sake, maybe you wanted to be in a study about concussions. I mean, were they paying? I mean, could have been
Well,
a paying gig, $250 to be in the study. They
this is
often pay.
this is the thing that so this is the second time that this has happened, but this happened so quickly, like literally the day before in a conversation on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
A few months ago, I had I see I don't know. Apparently Instagram thinks my profile ticks the box for lab rat. I got one
That,
for
by the way, that should maybe a study of yourself all by itself. But go ahead, keep going. We're going to let that go. That's lab
moving
rat.
on.
Your
Moving on.
personality in a lab rat is, I'm in for a story here.
Hey, maybe there's a reality show there. I just be,
Yeah,
you know, I could be in a
you
let's
could
think.
go from study to study, and we could film you as they poke you and prod you and do whatever
Put me
they
in
do to
a
you.
house and like, almost like the Truman Show. Maybe I don't even know. Maybe I'm being experimented on and I don't even know. Or actually, that's a scary thought because that's actually happening right now.
Yeah. By the way, the guy that wrote the Matrix got the whole idea from the Truman. Okay, just so you know, I made that up. That's not actually true. Okay. I mean,
I was
now that we're
I
talking about fake news, I
was
just want to, have you look it up and go, hey, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I was waiting to go into a whole sidebar about that because I was like, whoa, wait a second, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So I get this ad for a vitiligo study, patchy skin condition that I have, which is very very minor, but it pops up and it keeps popping up, and so Instagram's doing its job of just, and so I'm like,
Yeah. Region frequency.
yep,
They're doing frequency.
sure, let me click the button, autofill. Sure, somebody calls me, hey, we'd like to talk to you. It's going to be a 13-month study. It's going to use a topical cream. Um, you're going to have to travel to LA once a month, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Let me,
Well,
how much is this paying? What,
yeah, yeah. This sounded like a full-time job here.
right? And then so we just have a few qualifying questions. How many? Is it on both sides of your body or on one side? No, it's on both sides. Oh, okay, cool. How many palm-sized patches do you have on your body? So I'm going uh, none. So they're like, oh, okay, well, you're not a candidate for the study. I'm like, we just talked for 30 minutes for you to just one question. But what scared me about that was I've never shared any medical data related to that on any social network. I mean, why would I? Like, hey guys, take a look at my patchy skin. Never would. So it was really interesting that interesting slash scary that came up randomly.
It wasn't random.
Exactly.
From your work life that you're a lead generator,
Yeah.
okay? So
So
it's not random.
yeah,
You just want to know what lab rat profile they have on you.
that's what I'm wondering, and there's a Black Mirror episode like that. Black Mirror it's a really good show on Netflix where they have these it's futuristic sci-fi, but it's not 2600 AD, it's 10, 15 years away, maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe there's a possibility you can see it's just out of reach. And so one of the episodes is around that with regards to social networks and the data they have on people and how they're putting things up and coercing them and the whole algorithm. It's an interesting episode.
Well, again, the same company that I was referring to earlier, because we were at the beginning, I had to explain all of this to a lot of the money people. This whole mining of data, you know, we were We weren't inventing it, but we were inventing sections of it.
Right.
And so a couple of things I would tell them, because our piece of software got everything, by the way, not just social media.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and I said, if by following you, we determine that you're a 26-year-old female, but actually you're a 55-year-old male,
yeah,
does it make any difference that we're wrong? We're going to sell you the same stuff. I mean, if that's what you're buying, that's what you're buying, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and even back then, this was 1999, and because we had all this data, and I spent a lot of time with the data people as well as the money people. Um, the idea of, how early could we figure out you were going to get a car?
Mm,
You know, um, and how many kids do you have? I mean, and
yeah, yeah,
you can get this information. Again, I have this knowledge from 25 years ago. You can imagine what it's like today. Okay. I mean, this is old software.
yeah.
Uh, it is statistically, you know, pretty significant calculations on. That's why that study isn't random that you get these ads. There's
Absolutely.
something, there's something that, you go through and you go, oh, send them. And they may send 100 different people when only five of them have the actual skin condition. Okay. But 5 out of 100, when it's really 5 out of 1 million in the real population, they're happy that they got their 5 out of 100. I mean,
Yeah,
that's worth doing. And that's with everything, whether finding somebody for a test, running an ad to sell something, voter stuff. I mean, this information problem that um, has been rearing its, I think, ugly
mhm,
head is that, um, if you let the software determine what you read and see,
yeah,
you'll get total reinforcement.
yeah. It
You'll
definitely.
you'll you'll and by the way, you'll get it in a way that you won't even know that you've been sucked into the rat hole, because they they start they start you with something that is believable,
Hmm.
and then slowly but surely they add, a week later,
Yeah,
a little crooked step, and pretty soon it's a 180, and now you hate the people you used to love,
yeah,
and you don't even know you did it, and you read these stories about, well, my grandpa used to do this, and now he hates immigrants, and he used to love immigrants. As a matter of fact, he is an immigrant,
yeah.
and now he hates them. Well, how did that happen? It didn't happen by chance. That's the
It's full on.
and that has nothing to
Yeah.
do with AI, by the way. AI
No,
is just
no.
gonna, make you can't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah, seriously, it's full on programming, and I've read too many cautionary tales of kids just talking about their parents, and just like that, they started listening to one person or going to one site, and then they just get gently steered over time, and then it's like what you were saying. My grandpa used to love immigrants, now he hates immigrants. Um, and of course, like the immigration thing, obviously is a hot topic with all of the displacement that's going on around the world too. But and in an election year, it's just that's a whole topic in and of itself. But it's a great example of how people can get steered, and if you're not careful and you're not objective, like you say, if you just consume what is being fed to you without being without applying that critical thinking, without being aware of like the algorithm and say, you know what, I'm really seeing just a lot of this stuff. Like I need to go in and fix this stuff, you know?
That to me, and not that you can force people to do it, but um, it's kind of the thing that, again, it's probably my grandmother used to say is, I think the old cliche was walk in the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
Remember
Hmm.
that term?
Yeah.
So one of the reasons to get opposing news sources, it doesn't really matter whether you're you're more aligned with this one or this one.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to hear both sides of the story.
Yeah.
because unless you get both sides of the story, you can't do your critical thinking, as you say. You can't do anything. I mean, you're just sucked in and you're,
Blindly
well,
consuming it and accepting it. I think there's so much
yeah.
just general acceptance. It pops up, and people are so quick because they have the vehicle of social media. They're so quick to just look at it and automatic belief, and then start firing it off, and it just grows and grows and grows. And yeah, about a year ago, I stepped away from social media completely. Um, Deactivated all my accounts, deleted some accounts, took everything off of my phone, and I got so much more time back as a result of that. And I suppose as it relates
And you
to,
wasted it all. No, I'm just hey,
it's funny. I look back.
hey.
What did
You
I
got to
what,
have somebody bring you back down.
what did
Okay.
I achieve over that year? Did I
Yeah,
read
yeah.
a million books? So so objectively wasted it. And then yes, so that's my point. I objectively wasted it, then realized I'm better off just getting back on social media. No. So
Yeah, if
I
I'm going to waste it, I'm going to waste it with a smile on my face.
let me just waste it looking at dog videos and getting upset about political postings. So it was a really good exercise, and I found it brought me it as we relate it back to happiness, given that we're the Happy Class podcast. It brought me a lot. I wouldn't necessarily say happiness, but it brought me a lot more peace, because there was less things that I might see that would cause inner conflict or that might upset me. And so fast forward to a year later, I slowly get back, because I realize there's certain people that I might have connected with or contacted, messaged through those platforms only. And so I'm back on there, and then slowly getting sucked in. And then I was telling somebody the other day, I now find myself, a post will come up, and either I look at it and go, that's upsetting to me, but I'll go into the comments. Now, why am I going into the comments? Am I going into the comments to seek validation? Is this also upsetting for other people, or is it just me? Or I go into the comments and then I see comments, some of which are very clearly bots, which just rile up and incite everybody else. And people are just keying off of that, and all of this division happening within the comments. So just the other day, and you and I we were talking about some of the things that we talk about in terms of happiness. We talked about, does money buy us happiness? And we've touched on AI and tech. And does tech make us happier? And I think in many ways it certainly helps. AI certainly helps, which we talked about earlier on. But I think social media, and you can see it in the comments, it's not making people happier in general. I think seeing photos of family and stuff like that, or maybe
Oh,
some fun I think that, but I think there's a lot of stuff that social media is responsible for today, which is causing a lot of division. It's impacting people's peace and not making people happier. On the flip side of that, I see a lot of the stuff that comes out with regards to a lot of the wars that are happening across the world, a lot of the suffering that's happening across the world, which wouldn't have seen the light of day if it wasn't for social media. So I'm a little torn. What's your take on that?
well, let me answer, but slowly. So my oldest son has three teenage kids. They're now
Mm,
17, 15, and 13. And they're not on social media.
mm,
They have smartphones.
yeah.
Okay. They're not on social media.
Hmm.
And they've gone through, especially the 17-year-old, they text, they have texting.
Yep.
So, that's not social media, and that's communication. Um, they need it for school and stuff, so of course they have these little machines. But so I asked them,
Mm,
okay, you know, w- what do they think of that uh, way of dealing with social media? This is again, I'm answering you in parts.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
they said, well, we do miss a couple of things, where people plan things and it's only on social media and we don't see it.
Okay.
But given how anxious, the high school kids are and all of this, the pluses way outweighed the minus in their minds.
Mm.
They were, and there are only a couple kids in the high school that are not on social media.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're at least the two older girls, the younger one's still in middle school. Um, they're both quite popular, you know, in the drama club, play tennis on the tennis team kind of stuff, I mean, they're uh, so they're very outgoing, lots of friends,
Yeah.
and as I said, with the texting, they can, communicate with everybody. They're not, they're not
Yeah.
isolated in some cult. My God, they're in this no Facebook or
Yeah.
no, kind of cult. But they don't get sucked into any of the, uh, hateful stuff that goes on
Yeah.
or any
Yeah.
posting. And so I'm kind of like, I opened with that just to kind of like parental advice saying you
Yeah.
can do that. Your kid will be fine or not fine, but it's not a it's simple thing to do. And well, it's a simple thing to do. It's not a simple thing for the kid to do.
Yeah.
Parent can just say no, and but you've got to back it up with some positive stuff. You can't just let them out there hanging them out to dry. But
Right.
the uh, in general, like you said, if it could be limited to photos of the family, but even then, friends will post pictures of their vacations because that's what people do.
Yep.
When you take pictures, you don't take pictures when you're mowing the lawn for the, no, you take pictures when you're looking out over the ocean on somebody else mowed the lawn. I mean, yeah, we were, and you feel, I mean, obviously you enjoyed it. You're having a fun time. You have time to take a photo. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
locations based on, the social media. I'm the only one who's not on vacation 50 weeks a year and going to places I've never been to, enjoying meals I've never going to enjoy. And I mean, and I live a very active life
Yeah.
and I can see where, you can like, holy cow, you have to. So it was sort of something you said early, earlier when you went off social media and then came back on again. And I
Yeah. Mm.
wondered if you were going to say this. You didn't, but it may be something. It's um, training yourself not to care,
Mm.
okay, about every post, somebody's in vacation and they're in New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand. Everybody who's been there says, I gotta go. You gotta go, Jim. You gotta go to New Zealand. You travel all the time. Why aren't you in New Zealand? It's like bang,
Yeah.
bang, bang. I want to burn the place because I'm tired of people telling me I need to go to New Zealand. And we went to dinner last night with some people who've been in New Zealand and it's like you gotta just well, my advice for happiness is uh, the jealousy, envy. This inside social media is all of this um, absolutely the same as in person emotional crap going on, whether it's the control people, the narcissists,
Yeah. Yeah.
that happened, that it's just amplified because you get, you're in a room with every night you're in a room with your 500 friends on Facebook or whatever social media you're in or something like that. And it doesn't matter. They're all over the place. And people you don't even know, you start to follow and you go, oh my God, look at their life. It's like, uh, something that is not new to you and me. It's, they use these terms, which I think are, I hate to pick on them, but I think they're just mouthy. Like, be grateful for what you have.
Hmm.
I got to tell you, grateful is not an exciting word. Okay. It just, I mean, come on. If you were selling, you should buy this car. You'll be grateful. Do you want to buy that car? The car that makes you feel grateful, you have a car. Yeah, and you should, by the way, feel grateful you have a car. I don't think that the actual definition is in error. It's just such a mouthy little word. You should be, that guy that wakes up breathing. I I uh I wake up excited every morning,
Mm.
you know.
Hmm.
And that first breath is the excitement. I'm like, and I may have a bad day coming, and I may even know that it's not going to be a fun day. Okay.
But
But
yeah,
the, the, this is me being grateful that I'm alive, right? But I'm
yeah,
excited. I would rather say I'm excited. I'm not be grateful that I'm alive. That, uh, and I think that's what those little teenage grandchildren of mine, are able to do with not having social media is they don't get sucked into feeling like, oh, I'm not hanging out with
yeah,
him,
right,
because my friend's hanging out with him, and they would see it in person, but when it
yeah,
gets magnified in front of you, you just get, it's like it's it, you know, um, a hose to water your lawn. They're just a regular old, I don't know what kind
yeah,
of hose it's called. It's garden hose.
yeah. There you
I'm going
go.
to call it a garden hose. Okay. Have you ever had water out of a garden hose?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think every kid. Don't drink it. It's not safe. You drink it anyway.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, and I mean, it can really get to you, but you can handle it at least for a little bit. Okay. You ever seen the water come out of a fire hose?
yeah.
There's no way that you're going to drink out of a fire hose. It's going to take
No,
your lips off just sticking your face into this thing, right? That's social media versus in-person emotion. That's a fire hose of crap coming at you.
great
And
analogy.
that differential is my way of answering your question. If it weren't a fire hose, if it were the photos of your friends and stuff, the little garden
Yeah,
hose, yeah,
yeah,
garden hose are great. You can handle it. I'm thirsty. I need a garden hose, right?
right.
But we're getting a fire hose, and you it's hard to handle a fire hose. I mean, and I'm
Yeah.
not a fireman, so we're already in a bad we're already in a bad thing.
But you touched on something, and there's been parodies made of this too, and sort of where comedians and sketch comedy artists, they'll take online interactions but translate them into physical interactions, and just make it fun. But you talked about how the online interactions, it's the same as real life interactions. The all the different people are there, the narcissists and everybody else. But I think
Everybody's still there.
they're all still there. But I think the difference is that um, the the outside forces that we see in terms of bots and stuff that go in and stoke the fires. So it's you and I having a conversation like this, just as we are, and everything's great, and a bot comes in and says, "By the way, I know you love New Zealand. Did you know Jim's never been to New Zealand?" Now suddenly we're having an adversarial conversation about why you've never been to New Zealand. But I'm making a joke out of it, but that's what's happening. There was
That's an additional issue. Yes.
there was a comment I saw today, and I looked at it, and I just said, "Huh, that's kind of a strange one." And people responded, and they're tagging this commenter. Oh, that's because and it was a litany of people, right? So the troll kind of got what they wanted, um, in causing that reaction. And so I just looked at it, and I clicked on the account. Person had no followers, no posts, but they were following X amount. And I just put a comment in and said, "This is a bot." Just because people need to just realize, like, this is not a person, or if it is a person, it's but it's
Well, in addition, remember, probably I I I have an ability to have a devious mind.
right.
Okay. So if I were, which I'm not, but I could, if I were wanting to get this emotion, okay, I would actually create the bot to be the bad guy. So if I were like running something that favored abortion, okay, just so I would create a bot that was a anti-abortion person saying the worst things about people who had abortions, so
Mm,
that my people that I really like will be all nasty to this person because I want their emotion up because they're going to contribute to my,
Yeah.
fund or
Mhm.
my race in politics or buy my product or whatever. So the actual fake isn't a fake. It's actually a double. It's a
Yeah.
double agent.
Double agent. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a double agent in that, it's not even it's a fake, but it's a fake of a fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think, I think as it relates to
It wasn't even a good one though. They didn't have any followers. I mean, the
the
fake of
really,
the fakes.
yeah, it was so easy to spot. Like the really good ones look completely
Oh,
legit.
they're real. They look so real that they're more real than I am on the internet, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Although, what was interesting too is a lot of the time it's because a legitimate person gets hacked and
Yes, yes, yeah.
they take over that account, which actually happened to someone I know recently, and it was quite difficult for them to get their account back, even with two-factor authentication and stuff like that. And yeah, it was kind of a scary thing to see, and it
Oh,
just
by the way, not that this is a tech show, but for your peace of mind and happiness, two-party authentication, when in doubt, click yes.
oh
It's a
yeah,
pain in the neck. It's a pain in the neck when you log on, because you got logged off. But, you know, if you ever have a problem or to stop somebody from
yeah,
taking over, it's harder to get around the 230, and it's much easier to get to identify yourself as the real person and change your password because
yeah,
somebody's hacked you.
yeah.
And so I rec there's my tech happiness.